said,
Mr. Confidence returns to save fighting again. Call your grandma. Nanny, we did it. Watch and pay me. Fuck you, pay me. You fat Irish prick. You don't have my money. I put your brain to sleep. Who's that? What's that about? Who's he talking about? C is in the casinos after. The Mac loves yous all. I got love for yous. It's an it's an honor. It's light work. It's easy. For life and eternity, it's McGregor. How drunk was he when he wrote this? I do this fight game easy peasy. The sound of my shots off the head go bing in green dot laser form. Okay. Well, I really hope he is actually back. I mean, he's the most dynamic personality the sport's ever known.
And he was, for a time there, just such an unbelievable fighter. I mean, he was it was incredible what he was doing.
The Eddie Alvarez fight.
Oh yeah, I was
example.
there. I was there. Well, thanks to you. With really good seats, thanks to you. But that was one of the best. That might be the best fight I've ever been to live, because that whole card was just stacked, and that as the main event was just unbelievable.
Bro, he was in the Matrix. He was in the Matrix. He was just in the zone. You know, Dana said it best. He's like, that kid eats pressure. He goes, he eats it.
Yeah.
Like, he thrives on pressure. Pressure that makes other people wilt.
Yes.
He, like, shines under that pressure.
And he had an amazing ability, even very early in his career, which was, like, kind of, it was really unique. Like, because even, like, on his first fight ever, if you watch his first fight in the UFC against, like, Brimage, I think the guy's name is, and he was a relatively unknown at the time. But, dude, the place is going nuts. He already had made so much kind of like street cred for himself, and then the Irish thing, like the Irish were really into it. But he, from the very first fight, he would always create these moments where it's like, dude, this is going to be the biggest spectacle that my opponent has ever been in their career. Like, I'm going to get you mad with shit talking. I'm going to get the fans so excited, because he's completely comfortable there.
Right.
Like, I'm not sure if you're really comfortable here, but and even with Aldo, who had been the entire division. He literally, when they started the division, they started him as champion. He didn't even win it. He came in because they absolved the WEC. So he was the entire featherweight division, had just dominated everyone, and he even created such a moment that like Aldo was like
he was the boogeyman.
Yeah, dude, he was incredible.
He's
one of the greatest
featherweights of all time.
But he got him to the point where he was like so furious that he was like, I'm gonna take this fucking guy's head off. And then Conor's just like relaxed. He's like he didn't care about any of the shit talking. He was just like, we're having fun. Let's play.
He lost his composure. Yeah, and he looked very overwhelmed by the moment. And by the way, everyone from Ireland came to Vegas for that fight. It was the nuttiest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. The entire Mandalay Bay was overcome with
expected hacks, because I'm coming in fast. I tell you this, how are you doing after your 5-round fight with Oliveira? I thought some of the shots went for the back of the head. You had an opportunity to repay the favor you didn't take. I was disappointed in the result and the outcome of the bout and the shape the bout took. But how's the body? How are you feeling?
What it is, bro.
How's Hawaii?
I'm good.
I look forward to seeing you again in Las Vegas.
Hawaii's great, brother. Hawaii's great. I can't wait to see you in the 9th Island, brother. How's Dublin? I heard you're sleeping in the gym, so that's great to hear, man. We're glad to have you back. I can't wait to get in there and mix it up, bro. We're gonna make some records.
Max, your fight with Conor was an early loss in your career, and I know you've been very vocal about wanting to get that victory back.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's super fun, you know what I mean? But in Conor's words, you know, I don't even think that's a loss. He said he only count finishes. And last time I checked, that was a decision. So we're on over into his fight, and
I like this. I like this. Go, ring the bell.
I like it.
I swear. My head is everything here. My head is everything. Bum, I hope this. Then I hope this. Bum, bum, bum. Okay? Bum, bum, bum. The fight is over here. Fight is over here. And then I want this head. Bum, bum, bum. From here. Bum, bum, bum. End the fight. Shit. Forever. Okay, all right. What? His head is right here. No, please. Oh. And my strong rockets. These are missiles, yeah.
Conor McGregor has once again become one of the biggest talking points in the MMA world. After years of injuries, setbacks, and extended periods away from competition, many fans began wondering whether he still had what it takes to return to the highest level of the sport. Now, however, the conversation has started to change. McGregor appears to be in excellent condition and is reportedly preparing for a potential showdown with Max Holloway, a matchup that would instantly become one of the most anticipated fights in MMA. With every training update, media appearance, and headlines surrounding his comeback, excitement continues to grow. The anticipation isn't just about seeing McGregor compete again. It's about finding out whether he can recapture the form that once made him one of the sport's biggest superstars. That leaves fans with a compelling question. Can McGregor rise to the challenge and re-establish himself among the elite? Or will facing a proven competitor like Holloway prove to be the ultimate test of his comeback journey?
He's coming up against Max Holloway in a great fight. How do you see that matchup between those two?
Personally, I think because it's that welterweight, I see Conor knocking him out. Like everyone's counting Conor out and thinks that Max is going to win. If it goes to the later rounds, yeah, Max definitely probably start piecing him up on the feet because he's got that cardio and the volume. But the fact that it's at welterweight, I think favours Conor because Charles made Max look small at lightweight. So imagine how big Conor's going to look compared to him at welterweight.
There's only one reason that Conor McGregor hasn't fought in the last at least 2 years, right? Since the Michael Chandler pullout or, rescheduling that bout. It's because the UFC, they see the value of Conor McGregor and they don't want to waste it. But at the same time, it makes for a very difficult conversation and a very difficult scheduling for Conor McGregor. They know that they want to put him on a massive card. They want to make sure that they get the most value out of Conor because they're going to pay him a shit ton of money, so they need to get value out of him. And they want to make sure that they can either try to renegotiate with him to keep him under contract, or maybe they don't work as hard to put Conor in a fight if he's not being as receptive to renegotiations or receptive to, whatever the number is they want to give him for a fight. There's always some kind of negotiation issue. There's always some kind, because Conor is, as he said, Abriel, they said I was toast, but I'm still the bread, mate. It's true. He is the cash cow moneymaker, even still today, 11 years later after winning his first title. That says something. And it's why he hasn't been able to fight, because they want to be very selective, and they're going to iron out every little contingency in his contracts before they get him a fight. It's ridiculous, but it's the way the UFC works. And Zuffa Boxing, you better get ready.
I felt like they could have done announcement with Conor and Holloway at the White House. I feel like that would have went really well for them. I think that would have been cool. I was also thinking about this on the drive-in. One of the reasons, many of reasons, they didn't put Conor on the White House card. Number one is the ticket sales, right? You can tell he's a big draw. Number two is, can you imagine the backlash that the left, CNN would have ran with if Conor, with his accusations in Dublin, going through, the grape stuff and all that?
That's interesting.
I bet you that had a hand in it, where they're like, hey, this is the White House. We're already getting a ton of shit for it. Do we really want Conor's comeback fight after going through all those legal issues in Dublin being at the forefront of this? And the ticket sales, they're like, it's just a lose-lose. I bet you that had something to do with it. They didn't want that negative attention stealing the storylines.
Off on Gaethje. That's the fight. If Conor McGregor beats Max Holloway beat Justin Gaethje. So the UFC can legitimately make Justin Gaethje versus Conor McGregor immediately. And you put Conor McGregor in a fucking title fight. If he has a really good performance against Max Holloway, which feels very unlikely, but let's say it happens. What a fucking fight. Because Justin Gaethje's stock has gone through the roof after the White House. I mean, he's a bona fide legend now. That would be a fucking amazing fight. And that point was pretty much the end of the interview, actually. So yeah, McGregor, is he changing? I think he is, but I think it's going to be a constant battle, and one that he might get knocked down in a few times more before he eventually comes to the point that you kind of hope he would come to. But at least we're seeing some resemblance of a humbleness about him, and just speaking like a man who's actually learned a thing or two over the years, which I think for a long time it was amazing how he...
Former UFC champion Michael Bisping focused on what may be the most important aspect of this matchup, what it could mean for Conor McGregor's legacy. Bisping was candid in his assessment. admitting that there are still questions about whether McGregor has remained sharp enough to keep pace with the evolution of the sport during his time away. In his view, this could be the type of fight that ultimately shapes how a large part of McGregor's career is remembered. His reasoning is straightforward. If McGregor returns and falls short on such a big stage, critics will likely use the result to challenge the accomplishments that made him one of the biggest stars in MMA history. At the same time, Bisping reminded fans why McGregor reached that level of fame in the first place. He pointed back to some of the defining moments of his career, including his dominant victory over Eddie Alvarez to become the UFC's first simultaneous two-division champion, as well as his stunning knockout of Jose Aldo, a moment that remains one of the most memorable finishes in UFC history. For Bisping, those achievements serve as a reminder that regardless of what happens next, McGregor has already secured a place among the sport's most influential figures. The question now is whether he can add another remarkable chapter to that legacy.
Sport has evolved, and I don't know if Conor McGregor necessarily has. Now, this is a big fight for him, for the sport, for his legacy, right? Because a lot of people are going to talk shit. If he loses this fight, fair weather fans, new people are going to be like, oh yeah, he doesn't seem like he was that good. The McGregor back in the day was that good. That's plain and simple. The way that he took out Eddie Alvarez, that was just beautiful. The Jose Aldo thing, that was one punch that was perfectly timed, incredible. But when he became double champ against Eddie Alvarez, that was a masterclass performance, okay? And then on the microphone saying, I'm going to apologize to absolutely nobody. Standing there with the two belts on, the first person to ever do it.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
It was incredible. I'm not glazing the guy. No one can deny that. And that's why he became the biggest star on the planet. And that's why he got opportunities to go and face someone like Floyd Mayweather and make the ridiculous amount of money.
According to Michael Bisping, the biggest change in Conor McGregor may not be physical, it may be mental. He believes McGregor is approaching this stage of his career with a noticeably different mindset, showing a level of maturity and awareness that wasn't always present during his earlier rise to stardom. Bisping noted that McGregor appears more composed and measured, fully understanding the significance of what is at stake. In his view, McGregor recognizes that he can no longer rely on the same carefree approach that characterized some of his previous fights. At this point in his career, every decision carries greater consequences. He also suggested that McGregor knows another high-profile defeat would bring intense scrutiny and renewed calls for retirement. The pressure surrounding this comeback is therefore about much more than a single result. It's about preserving his standing in the sport and proving that he can still compete at the highest level. For Bisping, that reality is likely shaping McGregor's preparation. The stakes are enormous, and the outcome could play a major role in determining how the next chapter of his career, and ultimately his legacy, is remembered.
He lives a quiet life on the island of Hawaii, okay, on Hilo, or whichever island it is, I'm not too sure off the top of my head. Mike's blessed Holloway. Where's he come from? Honolulu? I don't know off the top of my head. Let me know in the comment section, please. But still, what do you think about McGregor, this new version of himself? He does seem to have calmed down a little bit. He does seem to be taking this one very, very seriously. And he has to. Because if he doesn't get the job done here, at 38 years old, and I think he'll be turning 39 3 days after the fight, if he loses, people will be saying it's...
Of course, Michael Bisping's perspective is only one part of the conversation surrounding Conor McGregor's return. Rising UFC contender Paddy Pimblett has also weighed in, and he is optimistic about McGregor's chances of making a successful comeback. Pimblett believes that competing at welterweight could actually benefit Conor McGregor, arguing that the added size and physical strength may give him a meaningful advantage against Max Holloway. Because of that, he sees a path to victory where McGregor's power becomes a decisive factor early in the fight. At the same time, Pimblett acknowledged that the matchup could shift dramatically if Holloway manages to navigate the dangerous opening rounds. He noted that Holloway's trademark pace, volume, and relentless pressure have historically worn opponents down over time. In that scenario, the longer the fight lasts, the more the momentum could begin to favor Blessed. So while Pimblett is leaning toward a McGregor victory, he also recognizes that the fight may ultimately come down to a simple question. Can McGregor capitalize early, Or can Holloway drag the contest into deeper waters where his endurance and output become the deciding factors?
Going up against Max Holloway in a great fight, how do you see that matchup between those two?
Personally, I think because it's that welterweight, I see Conor knocking him out. Like, everyone's counting Conor out and thinks that Max is going to win. If it goes to the later rounds, yeah, Max definitely probably start piecing him up on the feet because he's got that cardio and the volume, but the fact that it's at welterweight, I think, favours Conor because Charles made Max look small at lightweight. So imagine how big Conor's going to look compared to him at welterweight.
What makes the discussion even more intriguing is that it extends far beyond the fight itself. Former UFC heavyweight Brendan Schaub offered his own theory regarding why Conor McGregor was reportedly left out of the rumored White House event discussions. Schaub acknowledged that announcing a potential McGregor versus Max Holloway matchup at such a high-profile event would likely generate tremendous attention and fan interest. However, he believes the UFC may have been concerned about the potential distractions that could accompany McGregor's involvement. According to Schaub, the combination of McGregor's ongoing legal controversies and the intense media scrutiny that follows him could have shifted focus away from the event itself. Rather than allowing the spotlight to remain on the fights and the occasion, he suggested that the surrounding headlines and public discussion might have become the dominant story. In Schaub's view, the UFC may have preferred to avoid that possibility altogether, choosing to keep the attention centered on the event rather than risk having outside issues overshadow the action inside the cage.
I felt like they could have done announcement with Conor and Holloway at the White House. I feel like that would have went really well for them. I think that would have been cool. I was also thinking about this on the drive-in. One of the reasons, many of reasons, they didn't put Conor on the White House card. Number one is the ticket sales, right? You can tell he's a big draw. Number two is, can you imagine the backlash that the left, CNN would have ran with if Conor, with his accusations in Dublin, going through, the grape stuff and all that?
That's interesting.
I bet you that had a hand in it where they're like, hey, this is the White House. We're already getting a ton of shit for it. Do we really want Conor's comeback fight after going through all those legal issues in Dublin being at the forefront of this? And the ticket sales, they're like, it's just a lose-lose. I bet you that had something to do with it. They didn't want that negative attention stealing the storylines.
Another voice that entered the discussion was YouTube commentator Brian Davis, who raised a question many MMA fans have been asking for years. What led to the downturn in Conor McGregor's career after such a remarkable rise to the top? Davis questioned whether responsibility lies with the UFC, McGregor himself, or a combination of both. He admitted that one aspect he has always struggled to understand is why McGregor spent so much time inactive despite remaining under contract. In Davis's view, McGregor's ascent was one of the most extraordinary success stories the sport has ever witnessed, making the years that followed feel like a missed opportunity for a fighter with immense talent. Looking beyond the Holloway matchup, Davis also speculated about what could happen if McGregor delivers an impressive performance. He suggested that a convincing victory could place Justin Gaethje among the leading candidates for a future showdown, with a potential title opportunity not far behind. While Davis acknowledged that such a path remains unlikely, he noted that any event featuring McGregor at that level would instantly become one of the UFC's biggest attractions. He also observed what he believes is a change in McGregor's personality, describing him as more mature, reflective, and measured compared to the outspoken figure who dominated headlines during his championship run. Meanwhile, Logan Paul offered his own perspective, describing McGregor as one of the most influential figures combat sports has ever produced. According to Logan, very few athletes have had the same impact on MMA's popularity and mainstream reach. Recalling a meeting with McGregor in Washington, D.C., he said the Irish star's charisma is just as powerful in person as it appears on television. Even so, Logan acknowledged the uncertainty surrounding the comeback. He pointed out that returning after a lengthy absence is never easy, especially when facing elite opponents who have remained active and continued to evolve. The debate also drew comments from Michael Chandler, a fighter many fans once expected to welcome McGregor back to the octagon. Although that matchup never materialized, Chandler expressed no frustration about the situation. Instead, he praised Max Holloway as one of the sport's most respected competitors and said that if anyone were going to receive the opportunity, Holloway was a worthy choice. Then there is the financial side of the discussion. Wade Clemens argued that while a McGregor-Holloway fight would likely generate one of the largest paydays in MMA history, money is probably no longer the driving force behind McGregor's return. Having already accumulated significant wealth outside the cage, Clemens believes the motivation is now far more personal. In his view, McGregor is returning because he still has the desire to compete and challenge himself against world-class opposition. Clemens argued that this competitive hunger, rather than financial necessity, is what makes the comeback compelling. He also rejected the idea that McGregor's long absence was solely the result of injuries or personal issues. Instead, he suggested that the UFC has been carefully waiting for the ideal moment to bring back its biggest commercial star. Given McGregor's unmatched ability to generate attention and revenue, every decision surrounding his return carries enormous business implications. Clemens further speculated that negotiations and financial considerations may have played a role in delaying the comeback. And with McGregor continuing to insist that he remains the UFC's biggest draw, the stakes attached to his return are far greater than those associated with a typical fight. Now the spotlight turns to the fans. Can Conor McGregor defeat Max Holloway once again and reignite his championship ambitions? Or will Blessed finally earn redemption and secure the biggest victory of his career? The answer could shape the future of both fighters and become one of the defining stories in MMA.